Hi everyone, welcome back to Spill the Tea. I'm your host Megan, and I'm joined here with
Sai,
Baylin,
and Ralph.
And today we're going to be touching on a little bit about burnout, how to prevent burnout, how to spot burnout, just in terms of work, school, anything that'll get your stress levels high and how to deal with it. So, does anyone have any experience with burnout they'd like to share?
I feel like I have more experience in like spotting when people are starting to get burnt out. I feel like everyone thinks that they can like handle it really good and like internalize it, but I feel like if you're really paying attention to someone, you can tell that they're like getting tired or they're like trying to like put on a show, like they're like still have energy. I feel like everybody gets burnout to like a certain extent though.
Can you tell when I'm doing that? Because I feel like I hide it pretty well.
I know. I feel like I hide it pretty well too. And then I get home and I'm like
crying.
Yeah.
Screaming, crying. No, yeah, I feel like I get burnt out. Well, I kind of do it to myself. Like, I'll just put too much on my plate and think that I can handle it all, but then I end up just really stressing myself out to the point where I lose motivation and just maybe not perform the best that I should. And I don't know, it just makes me realize that maybe I need to take a step back and take care of myself before I can put out myself for others, you know?
It's really interesting how it's much easier for us to spot burnout from other people, but it's also harder for us to spot burnout from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like if you have been kind of used to like juggling a lot of different things and like handling work, school, or just different aspects of life, like you feel like you can take on a lot, but I feel like everyone just has like a certain point where it's like we're only human, like we're not robots. Like you can't take on everyone.
That's true.
It's easy to get tired.
And it's easy to see it in other people because you're like watching it happen. You're not necessarily like outside of yourself looking at yourself and watching you do the things that you do. Because if you could literally watch yourself, I bet you we would change things so much more.
For sure. I never really realized it until after the fact and after I've gotten over my hurdles, and I look back retrospectively and think, wow, like I really shouldn't have been doing that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it works out sometimes, but at what cost?
Yeah, I know for me, like my burnout, it's like a cycle for me, or like a pattern that I've worked really hard to kind of like break or get out of, because with my burnout, it's like I always go like full speed ahead, like 150% with like all the time so consistently that like I don't give myself a break. So then I eventually just like burn out, because it's like I'm not giving my like body a chance to like take a break or
like
rest.
Pace yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's like I'm more careful about listening to my body and like what I need, like mentally or physically, and not trying to just exert everything all at once and really pace myself. It's like, think of it as more of a marathon, not a sprint.
For sure. I think I like catch myself in my burnout periods when I start to tell myself, oh, I just need to get through this day and then I'll be fine. Or I just need to get through this week and I'll be fine. But when you say that to yourself, you're just going to say it again the next week or the next day, that you need to get through this and you'll be fine. And then nothing ends up happening. So I think just lowering your expectations in that area, and just knowing that life, the Buddha once said, life is suffering. And I think that's very true. Life is hard, but if we can find moments of happiness for ourselves, or just moments to make it just a little bit better, I think that's better than expecting everything to be happy all the time, you know?
And then being okay with like listening to your body, and if you do need that rest, right? It's like, okay, like being okay with that. Okay, I need to take a break, or I need some time to like just like rest and recover a bit, and then I'll get right back on it. Because I think a lot of times like people feel guilty.
Oh yeah.
People feel like like not productive enough, and then they feel like they're not like adding purpose, or just like missing out on certain things because they're not like involved in them, or like constantly working super hard. Yeah, you said like the guilt like, of not doing enough,
and then
is a big thing.
You touched on productivity, and that's such a huge thing, right? Because a lot of people don't think like resting is productive. But if you reframe that in your mind, right, and kind of look at it differently and a different perspective of seeing rest as something that is productive, because it takes active work to rest and relax, because it's not something that we're necessarily natural and good at doing, especially when everyone's so used to kind of like having a busy life and doing things on the go. Everyone's used to the kind of like instant gratification of things. So like in this day and age, it's almost unnatural almost to really take the time to slow things down and really rest. And so if you look at it like that and look at it as resting as being a productive thing, as an active, like you have to actively do it, then I think that reframes it in your mind of that you are accomplishing something, because so many people think that you're not accomplishing anything by resting, but you actually are, because you're allowing your brain, your body to like rest and recover, which enables you to perform better when it is time to perform and be productive.
I think that's a lot like, well, it's finals week right now, but in the past I've kind of juggled with, do I cram all night or do I sleep and look it over in the morning? And I've done both, but honestly, when you cram all night for a test, you're not feeling rested in the morning, you're not all mentally there, and as a result you're just not going to perform as well. So just like you said, prioritizing your rest, even when, you know, everyone places a really big emphasis on like hustling and working hard, which is super important, but making time for yourself to actually slow down is probably the best thing you can do.
So you're saying that there has been definitive results with you like resting first and giving yourself that time to kind of recover versus just going through it all night?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, even the difference of like 3 hours of sleep to no sleep is crazy too, because I don't know, study till late hours of the night, give myself at least 4 or 5 hours of sleep, wake back up in the morning and start again, versus studying all night and day up until the test. It's drastic. It definitely is. It's
crazy how sleep has such a huge impact on how you perform, right? Because if you think about it, if you feel like you didn't get enough sleep and you didn't get a lot of rest, how do you feel the next morning, right? Like you're tired. It's hard to get out of bed. It's hard to focus.
Like sometimes I feel like delusional. Or
delusional.
Like, I feel like
cranky.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
Or like I don't know if my brain is in my body.
It takes a while to process
like
things.
Like an out-of-body experience half the time.
You don't feel like you're there. It's like I'm living in a dream.
or if something happens, like how much more anxious are you or reactive to things? Like you're shorter with responses. You're more snippy or snappy at people versus when you have a good night's sleep.
It's supposed to be like 6 to 8 hours, right?
Some
people
I
function
think women
like
need more than
fine.
men, like sleeping wise.
Yeah, because your body is working harder in different aspects. Yeah. I don't know. Someone once said like, or I read a thing and it was like, your body is working so hard every second, but like it makes no, like you can't hear it working. You can't feel it working. It's just crazy. Like your body just like does it all on its own. You're just sitting there, but so much energy is going into just being there.
Existing.
Yeah, just existing.
But doesn't our brain already take up 20% of our energy?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then your brain is like one aspect of your entire body. Like there's so many different systems in your body that's working simultaneously all the time.
Yeah, 24/7, no breaks.
And that's why when you are like, you don't have to be physically exhausted to be tired. You can be like mentally exhausted.
Yeah, and that's 20% of yourself.
And expresses itself. Like, how many times have you guys studied so much? You haven't done anything physical, but like your body's just like done.
Tired.
Me.
Yeah,
Yep.
Right
all the
now.
time.
I mean, that's kind of like what happened yesterday. Like I worked in the morning and then I spent the entire rest of the day doing my finals, and like I did catch myself being a little bit snippy and a little bit angry, but like I recognized that it wasn't from a place of like hatred. I'm just tired,
Yeah.
you know. So I just need time to myself, basically.
Well,
Beauty
I have a
sleep.
list of signs of burnout, and this is actually really interesting because it breaks it up to 3 categories: physical, emotional, and behavioral.
Ooh. Let's hear
And
it.
I don't think we always think about this. So the physical signs, and these are like, again, these are not definitive. These are, and I don't think these are the whole pictures either. But the physical is feeling tired most of the time, lower immunity, frequent headaches, back pain, or muscle aches, and change in appetite or sleep habits.
Check.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Emotional, self-doubt, feeling helpless or hopeless, detachment, decreased motivation, increasingly negative outlook, decreased satisfaction and sense of accomplishment. Like, yeah,
I
we
see
go,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
we go through all of that. Behavioral, withdrawing from responsibilities, isolation, procrastination, using food, drugs, or alcohol to cope, taking out frustration on others, skipping class, or coming in late or leaving early.
This is like targeted right now. This is like targeted at me this like past month. No, I totally feel that procrastination one though, because I can always tell when I'm procrastinating, and it makes me anxious when I am, but somehow you can't bring yourself to do it, which makes you more anxious about it, and you procrastinate longer. And then on days when you actually need it done, I always get it done, but sometimes I procrastinate on them. The days that you get them done, you're on such high stress, high anxiety mode that I don't know, it just feels like the pressures of the entire week are coming down on you, and it's just
It's just like
cyclical
about avoiding
like that.
it because
Yeah.
you like don't want to do it. Like I'll have so much homework one night, and then I'll like get off of a shift at like 4, and then I'll be like, oh, I have so much to do. I'm gonna go to the gym though, and like, and then I'm gonna get home and shower and light a candle and do it. And it's like,
I do that too,
like,
though. I'm
why?
like, this
Just
will
go
make me
out.
feel better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, if I go to the
You're, like,
gym, like,
avoiding
I'll
it
feel
and trying to,
better.
like,
If I shower,
prepare
I'll feel
yourself.
better.
Instead of just like getting it done.
So when you guys actually get it done, was it as hard as you made it out
I
to
feel
be
like
in your
Of
mind?
course
I feel like
not.
just
It's never
starting
as hard.
is the
Yeah,
hardest
it's
part.
definitely just starting. Like, once you get into the groove of it, you're like, why? I always ask myself, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, I could have had it done like that, but I waited till the last minute, and now I'm screwed. So, yeah, I don't know.
I definitely think burnout is kind of like a negative feedback loop, because you were talking about like you get anxious, so you procrastinate, and then now you get anxious about procrastinating, so now you do something else to kind of take your
Yeah.
mind off of it, but now you're even more delayed on what. So it's kind of like a negative feedback loop that kind of feeds itself until you address it and then do something about it. Then now you're at where you're at. Is why did it even take that much to do this?
I don't know if you said this, Ralph, or maybe I read this somewhere, but it said something like stress is like you're not stressed about something that you're doing. It's because you're not doing something that you're stressed out. So it's not that you're procrastinating that you're stressed out. It's not that you're avoiding it by doing other things is why you're stressed out. It's literally just because you're missing that portion in your life that's making you stressed out. So I don't know. It's kind of like a never ending cycle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so now that we've kind of discussed the signs, symptoms of burnout, and it can come from anywhere, what do you guys do to prevent it? Or like not even prevent it, right? It happens. So
Yeah.
like it kind of happens and it hits us and we don't know it's there. So what do you guys do to kind of, if you are able to prevent it, but if not, like what do you guys do to address it personally?
I mean, I feel like I incentivize myself a little bit, like, especially when I feel like I'm falling into like a procrastination cycle, I'll tell myself, okay, if I can get this done and this done, I'll allow for myself to do this, which gets a little toxic sometimes, but that's kind of been my solution to it. And I don't know, it works out sometimes, but
It's kind of like, okay, if I work on this for like this next hour or this next 30 minutes, then I'll do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
the
like
small incentive.
you can combine it with like things that you enjoy doing. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, I really need to clean the house right now. So I'll either listen to music or like I'll watch an episode of TV like while I'm doing this. So just combining like a good thing with like a quote unquote bad thing, you know? So it doesn't feel as stressful.
I feel like I go in like increments of time. Like say it's like 1:05. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work until 2, like nonstop, and then I'm gonna take a break and like do whatever. And then like an hour later, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna sit here for 30 minutes and do it, because I feel like it's also good when you're like working or you're doing homework or you're doing a task. You have to like take breaks, because I also saw something where it was like, your brain doesn't work as well when you're like looking at a screen or doing a task for like hours on hours.
Yeah.
It works better when you take breaks like every 30 minutes, even if it's like a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Like your brain just doesn't like work at its full capacity when it's over a really long period of time.
I think I kind of know what you're talking about, because I think it has something to do with like your brain is really like attentive and focused for like maybe 20 to 30 minutes at a time. So then every 20 to 30 minutes, then take a small break, like you said.
Literally even a 2-minute break. Like just go make some tea and then come back, or like something small like that.
Taking breaks in the first place.
Yeah.
That helps a lot.
I think it also helps to be surrounded by like-minded people when you're trying to be productive. Like for me, when I'm trying to do homework or studying, I feel like I work best when I know that there's other people around me that are doing the same thing. So I'm like, okay, we're kind of sharing a common struggle right
We're
now.
in the same boat.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. We have each other's backs. Like it's not that bad if we're all working on it. Maybe
You're
not
actually
together.
more done, because I mean, how much do you guys get done when you're all working together versus when you're working by yourself?
Oh, for
at home?
sure.
So much
Yeah,
more.
a lot more.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to get distracted. Oh, I'm just gonna start looking at stories. Oh, I'm gonna just start watching YouTube, and then like next thing you know, 3 hours later, it's like I haven't done much.
Yeah.
It's like an accountability thing. Like you
Yeah,
see
for
other
sure.
people like
Yep.
focusing. Like why would you not focus?
Yeah,
Like,
it's motivating.
Yeah.
I've
Like,
heard
even
this
if it's
too, that it
subconscious.
helps to make a list, but instead of going 1, 2, 3, you cross off your list. You start from the bottom and work your way up.
I'm a big list
Oh.
person as well. I
like-
need to organize my thoughts.
Yeah,
in
it
a
changes
list.
everything up instead of kind of going down the list.
Yeah.
You go
It's
up
like you
the
go
list.
up the list.
I'm a list person too. What I do is I'll make a full list of everything I need to get done, and then I'll prioritize. I'll have my top 3. Like, what do
Yeah.
I need to for sure hit, like non-negotiable for the day, and then what are just the extra fluff stuff.
Yeah. I feel like I don't have to-do
Yeah.
lists. I have more of anxiety lists. So I write down everything that I'm anxious about and then cross them off as I go.
Oh
So
my
I'm like,
gosh.
I feel like I'm getting rid of the anxiety as I delete each one, you know?
I love the way a crossed off thing looks.
Do you guys ever like put something on there that you've already done just so you can cross it off?
Heck
No, but
yeah.
that sounds
No.
good.
Do it. You should.
I do that. I'm like, I feel accomplished because I just did this. Let me just write that down in my to-do list and cross it off.
And here's the thing with that, like when you do put something down on the list and that you've already done, but just to cross it off, it's you're letting yourself celebrate a win. And I think that's one of the things that help prevent burnout too, is just celebrating the wins. As simple as, I mean, I've talked to Malin about this. I like to have the bed made in the morning before we leave home, because that's an instant win before you even start the day.
Yeah.
So
There's
like
like
this,
studies on all of that too.
yeah,
Like it's literally proven to help kickstart your day in the right direction.
it does.
Making
it
your
does.
bed.
Because then you're in a positive, like you're already starting your day in a positive route. And then just that already is like, oh, I got this done. I can get this done. Next thing you know, you've got a bunch of stuff done already that
Yeah.
you haven't even like planned for.
Honestly, I think like when I was really into going to the gym and like kept consistent with it, I would try to go in the mornings, because I feel like once I got it out in the mornings, it was over with and done. And honestly, I felt like I had a lot more energy to do things for the rest of my day. So I was like, oh, I already went to the gym. I already sweated it out. I've done the hard part. Everything else is just easy now.
Yep.
So I think that's a really good part of keeping a schedule as well.
That's another thing. Just staying healthy and eating
Yeah.
healthy is a way to kind of prevent burnout. I mean, like when you do go to the gym, when you do it regularly, I know when I didn't go regularly, I would be okay eating food that's not as good.
Yeah,
But like when I go to the gym, it's like, ooh, I don't want to throw away all that hard work today.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm more conscious
agree.
of what I eat.
When you're not going, it's kind of like, oh, I'm already like
Why would
in this
yeah,
zone.
why would I change it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when your body starts to like get tired or like, you start experiencing all the burnout, it's even more important to like keep up that routine too and stay healthy or exercise or eat better because that's when it really counts because your body's already getting tired.
Yeah, for sure. Like my mom would always tell me, like the day before my test or like the morning that I had a test, she'd be like, I need you to eat like an orange and like eat all these healthy foods in the morning so that you're set for your day. And like honestly, it does help to keep like a balanced diet and know what you're putting in your body at all times because there's some freaky things out there.
I feel like with burnout, like you don't have the energy sometimes to like want to do the things that you should be doing. But like they always say, like when you feel unmotivated, for example, like if you don't want to go to the gym, that's like the most important time to go.
Seriously.
Is like
Yeah.
when you don't want to do something,
Yeah.
because it's
'Cause
like retraining your brain to like not go based off of like your motivation or feeling, but like based off of like routine and habit,
Yeah.
which is easier said than done 100%.
Mm-hmm.
We've had this talk in one of our, I don't know if you guys heard it in one of our manager meetings, but Ralph talked about the cycle of being inspired, taking action, and motivation. The whole circle.
Yep. Yep. So like a lot of people wait to do something before they're motivated. And then now that they're motivated, they're inspired to work on it. And then now that they're inspired, they actually act on it. A lot of people see it as a linear thing. Like I'll wait till I have the motivation. When I have the motivation, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
It's actually not linear. It's circular. You can start from anywhere. And the easiest way to start is from the action part. Because once you act on something, you get motivated. When you're motivated, you become inspired. When you become inspired, you act on it. And then you can start anywhere in the circle. And it's funny because even it affects an individual's emotion, right? What's the biggest word? The biggest part of that word, emotion. It's motion. And like I don't think people really like kind of like consider the fact that all you have to do is sometimes act, change the way your posture is even to change your emotion. Once you start doing something and just start acting on it, you're able to just kind of like keep going with that. The hardest thing you talked about going to the gym can be so hard. You don't want to do it. It's funny because I don't like going to the gym, but once I get there, it's like I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that too.
Once you start, it's like, oh, I can keep going, and then that's when
Especially with that pre-workout.
you hit. And then you keep going
seriously,
so
though.
hard, then pretty soon, like you pause for a moment. I know I paused for a moment. It's like, ooh, I'm really lightheaded.
Yeah.
It's like I think I need
Sometimes
to
I stand
stop.
up and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So
I'm
it's
gonna
like
pass out right now.
the hardest thing is just to start, but at the same time, that's the easiest place to start. Is just to act.
Yep.
So nice. I love it.
Dang, feeling motivated to go to the gym tonight.
Seriously.
Let's go.
I actually don't have time to go to the gym today,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Motivation is to finish your final.
No, seriously.